Hello, and today is October 26th, which means it's the 26th day, and it was a very interesting day of practicing good habits, good recovery habits, in a new environment. I, usually can plan my foods and I know what I'm going to eat, and it's always a little bit hard when I'm out and about or with friends or in a new place, and I know that that's just not going to be a part of it. So then I have to choose to be able to eat well for myself when I'm not choosing the food, and that is used to be a lot harder, and it has thankfully gotten easier. Been able to appreciate and enjoy the days that I don't have I don't have it all planned out, and accept that it's like seeing things in a bigger scale. Like it's not just one day, and it's fun to like delight in those foods that you don't get all the time, or I don't eat all the time, or I don't make for myself very often, and but also still advocating for eating. And a lot of times I find that people don't eat as quote unquote normally as I do, where they don't prioritize meals or snacks, especially when you're out and about. And so having to kind of advocate for myself, and whether that's bringing my own snacks or saying like, oh, can we get a meal now, or I'm hungry, or kind of making, just making a point to make food a part of it, has been a hard voice for me to find over the years, but I have found it more comfortably now. And then there's also just feeling comfortable about eating enough food, especially if it's not food that I like have the busiest time eating, whether it's like, it doesn't to me feel like it has a lot of nutritional value. So pasta is kind of one of those things that's always a weird hang up for me. I feel like, I can eat all the vegetables, but then eating enough of the pasta, or when it's not enough protein, and in my head as a runner, I'm like, oh, it doesn't have the macros, it's not helping me as much, and that I know is just a bit of the eating disorder too. And so putting that aside and just like eating however much I want of what is served to me and enjoying it, and I usually do like get to delight in it, like it's a meal out, and appreciate it for what it is. But sometimes it can be hard for me to like eat a full amount, and so it's a bit a way of restricting foods that I feel like quote unquote unhealthy. So it's been working on that. And then also I found that when I do that, when I'm with people for an extended period of time, it's like my hunger builds, and it can like lapse into a really hard time once I'm by myself. So then I can have a hard time feeding myself afterwards, or I eat too much, or I just feel like because I've been around people and haven't been able to eat the way that I want to do, like, I don't know, it feels like very potentially bingey when I get home and I eat for myself. And so, but I have noticed that if I do eat and like advocate for my own eating during while I'm with friends, then I'm not so hungry and so restricted feeling or like anxious when I'm home by myself. So it has equaled out a little bit, but I do recognize that it is something that I'm still very much learning how to manage in a lifelong sort of way. How do I advocate for my eating? You think bringing snacks is a big part of that, drinking lots of water, mindful of how much I'm drinking, and like enjoying and not feeling any hang-ups about the food that is served me, and delighting in like who's making it for me and the hospitality, and but not also feeling like, oh, it doesn't matter at all, and like using that as an excuse, and then just being mindful of how I feel when I come home, and if I'm feeling anxious, or if I'm kind of wanting to face my recovery or not. And I kind of found myself that this evening of like, oh, I don't really want to do the video, like I just didn't want to sit down and talk about it. And I think that's like, again, a good check-in for me to be like, why don't you want to talk about it? What is it that's going on? Why why are you trying to ignore it, pretend that it's not a part of your life today, especially when I know that it has been. So more or less, like, I think it was a really good just practice and good thing for me to be mindful, because those things can really trip you up, and they can be kind of sneaky that way and kind of catch you off guard. So just learning, how am I going to do this for the rest of my life? How am I going to eat spontaneously? How am I going to eat with friends? How am I going to eat when I don't have a routine or a schedule?